Okay, so this is going to be a demo for converting a fairly complex application, the Spring Pet Clinic sample, to using Azure Cosmos DB with the Spring Data Cosmos library instead of using JPA and Postgres or MySQL, which is what it currently uses. JPA, Java Persistence API, is of course a Java specification that provides a standardized way to map, manage, and persist Java objects to relational databases. So it's an ORM framework. Cosmos DB, of course, is a NoSQL database, so quite a challenging task. How long do you think it would take you to do this? Well, we're going to do it very quickly using VS Code agent mode. I have speeded up the video using the magic of YouTube, but I have kept all the main things in, and it does in real life take, I promise you, less than 30 minutes. So let's go. So first of all, we're going to install a Copilot instructions file from the awesome Copilot repo that is tailored to giving the agent instructions it needs for JPA to Spring Data Cosmos conversions in general. We're just going to install it in the default data folder, and this should make our prompt more straightforward. And before we get going with the prompt, I'm just showing you our Cosmos DB account. All I have is a database that's empty right now. The entities required by the app should get created as part of the conversion. So as you can see, I've just pasted in a very simple prompt, and that's it. So let's go. So you can see here it's going to analyze the project structure and then follow the step-by-step conversion process, which is really referring to the pre-baked LLM instructions file that we installed before. So eventually it comes up with a plan for doing the conversion, which really again just reflects the instructions file mostly. So you can see there on the left-hand side, it's already started making changes to different files, which you can see in the changelog. They're starting with the POM XML, and it's going to make a bunch more changes to different files before it attempts to compile anything. So let's just fast forward through all of this. So you can see here that the agent has actually decided that the conversion is quite complex, and it's decided to create a service layer for relationship management and template compatibility, which is one of the pieces of advice in the high-level instructions for more complex conversions of this kind. And you can now see that it's tried to compile its first attempts at the changes, which have failed to compile, but it's going to analyze the failures and make fixes. So it's pretty much reasoning, or appears to be reasoning like a developer, and fixing its own mistakes. So we're going to fast forward past this stage until it gets to a successful compile and the first attempt to run. Okay, so it now thinks compile is working, and it's going to attempt to run the application. It gets the syntax of running wrong a few times, but again, it's going to correct itself. We're just going to fast forward past these corrections. So what's interesting now is that it got the application to run, but it's failing because local auth is disabled on Cosmos DB. That's really a problem with my prompt. I didn't specify that I wanted to just use Entra ID and the endpoint for Cosmos DB only, so it's just assumed a key was required. Let's fast forward again to get to the next interesting point. So what's interesting here is that although it provided the Entra ID related code with default Azure credential and whatnot, it's given up on authentication because it thinks I need to either have the right Azure credentials or provide a key. Again, I really should have been more specific in my prompt and told it to just use the endpoint with Entra ID and not key-based auth, which is why it's got confused. So I'm going to have to intervene here with another prompt, being specific about that. So it's going to correct this. Let's fast forward until we get to the running application. So we can see we've got our application running now. Let's check Cosmos DB to see if it populated the entities, and there we go. Owners and pets and so on. We can see some of those entities have been denormalized, as we'd expect from their relational origin. And so it clearly believes here, as you can see, that the application is complete and working. And I guess all that remains to do is for us to go to the URL and check the application out. Yep, things look like they're working to me. Of course, it may not be perfect, but I think you'll agree this was pretty good for less than 30 minutes. If you want to check this out yourself with another JPA to Cosmos conversion, we'll have some links to some docs in the description below. Of course, LLMs are non-deterministic and this may transpire differently for you, but it should pretty much get there and we'd love to know how you get on. Thanks for watching.